This point, we all know that arts engagement yields physical, cognitive, emotional benefits and plays a powerful role in supporting active duty service members, reservists, veterans, their families, and other members of the military community. The National Endowment for the Arts continues to be a leader in this area, and state arts agencies have taken a leading role in supporting those efforts at a state level. Today, we're lucky enough to have representatives from the National Endowment and three state arts agencies, Delaware Division of the Arts, New Mexico Arts, and the Washington State Arts Commission. They're going to share with us how they're progressing with their military arts and military programs, as well as their goals with those programs going forward. To kick things off, I'm going to turn things over to Mary Sellers, the Creative Forces Program Manager, and Tony Grigsby, the Museum Specialist in Visual Arts from the NEA. Mary, Tony, it's over to you.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Yes, I am Mary Sellers. I'm the program manager for the Creative Forces program, and I'm joined by Tony Grigsby, who's going to be sharing a little bit more about the Blue Star Museums at the NEA. So welcome and so glad that you guys are here and that we're taking this time to share a little bit more about these programs. Some of you may be really familiar with them and others, they may be new for you. Um, as I mentioned, I'm the program coordinator or program manager for Creative Forces. And you'll notice that Creative Forces and Blue Star Museums is really the most visible way that the NEA is supporting military connected populations, but it certainly is not the only way. We have grantees on our other grant programs, including grants for arts projects that are reaching a similar same population. And you can actually find out who's doing that by using our NEA recent grant search tool on our website, arts.gov, and by doing a keyword search there. So I'll just jump right into the Creative Forces program. The Creative Forces program is the NEA Military Healing Arts Network, and it is an initiative of the NEA in partnership with the U.S. Department of Defense and Veterans Affairs. And really, it seeks to improve the health, well-being, and the quality of life for military and veteran populations exposed to trauma, as well as their families and caregivers. So this program supports creative arts therapies at the core of patient-centered care at clinical sites throughout the country. This includes telehealth services and access to community arts activities to promote health, well-being, and quality of life. So who are we? We are creative arts therapists, musicians, painters, potters, writers, woodworkers, dancers, and doctors, military service members and veterans, community leaders, and policy makers. We work at military bases, hospitals, and community art centers. And the mission, our mission is really to help support military personnel and veterans return to their homes, their missions, and their families whole, mentally fit, and emotionally ready for whatever comes next in their life. So just wanted to share some of these statistics. These ones are slightly outdated, but they still sort of hold true. So you'll see since 2000, there have been nearly 500,000 military service members who have been diagnosed with TBI or traumatic brain injury. And between 11 to 20% of the military service members are diagnosed with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So this is really a national crisis, and it's something that is the big driver to do the work that we're doing. So how do we address some of these really stark statistics? We sort of break it down in three main pieces: our clinical services, our creative arts therapies, our community-based programs, and building the capacity of the field through toolkits, trainings, and a website and national research center. And I'll share a little bit more about each. So starting with our clinical team, it's managed by the Henry N. Jackson Foundation for the Advancement of Military Medicine. So they manage the clinical care that is provided to military and veterans populations across 12 of our clinical network sites at DoD and VA hospitals and clinics. So this includes art therapy, music therapy, dance and movement therapy. And these creative art therapists have the opportunity to work oftentimes with community organizations. They also have the opportunity to complete research on the physical, social, and emotional impacts of creative art therapies. We also have our sort of community-based programs, which I think we'll be hearing a little bit more about in this session. We work with Mid-America Arts Alliance, who manages our community-based work. They administer grants that are offered to organizations that are operating military and arts programs. So these grants support community-based programs and activities that enable military-connected people to experience and create art. Over the past 3 years that we've been running this, we have 101 projects in 33 states and the District of Columbia that have been supported in doing this work. And you'll notice on each one of these slides, I have links, which I'll drop into the chat later, and they'll be available when we share the slides after the presentation. Thirdly, we have our capacity team, which is managed by Civic Arts, and this is where we connect about this work. So the National Resource Center is our website, and it's where you can go to learn more about our clinical and community programs. You'll also find a lot of stories, a lot of toolkits, training materials, and research findings. And those are all shared on the Creative Forces nrc.arts.gov website. And I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Tony, to get us started and share a little bit more about the Blue Star Museum program.
Thank you, Mary. So, good afternoon. My name is Tony Grigsby. I'm excited to share the Blue Star Museum's program that provides free admission to active duty military personnel and their families at museums and other cultural institutions across the country. Launched in 2010, the program offers free admission to active duty military personnel and up to 5 family members during the summer months, starting on Armed Forces Day, which is May 17th this year, through Labor Day, which is September the 1st. The program aims to recognize and thank military families for their service, providing opportunities to explore culture and history. Participating Blue Star museums include children's museums, art museums, history and science museums, zoos, nature centers, and more. Who is eligible? Those currently serving in the United States military, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Space Force, Coast Guards, National Guardsmen, U.S. Public Health Commission Corps, NOAA Commission Corps, and again, up to 5 family members. You can participate by simply showing a military ID at any participating museum to gain free entry. And the free admission period runs from Armed Forces Day through Labor Day, aligning with the summer vacation season and the time of the year when many military families are moving to new communities. The Blue Star Museum program is a fun and easy way to get to know their new home and start to make connections. Visits to museums provide military families with a chance to engage in learning and relaxation. It offers children opportunities to connect with history, science, and art in interactive ways. Military families often face relocations, and the Blue Star Museum's program helps them connect with their new communities while experiencing local culture and heritage. By offering free access, museums show gratitude for the sacrifices military families make, strengthening the bond between the arts community and those who serve. The annual registration starts in February and runs through September of every year. There is not an operating budget required. And there is Blue Star Museum's material that is located on the NEA website at arts.gov. Many military families share their positive experiences, expressing that the Blue Star Museum's program helped them feel more at home in new locations or provided a much needed escape during challenging times. For example, families have shared that the program helped them bond, explore new interests, and connect with their children in an educational setting. And cultural institutions have seen an increase in the relationships they are building with the community. There are ways to get involved. Explore the website at arts.gov/Blue Star Museums. Discover various participating cultural institutions in different states. Plan to visit those participating institutions with your family and share your experiences on social media by using the hashtag Blue Star Museums and tag us. You can reach Bridget Zanganay or myself at bluestarmuseums@arts.gov. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Mary. I really appreciate your presentation and bring us up to date. We are now going to move on to the Delaware Division of the Arts. We have with us Brianna Henry, the Community Engagement Program Officer, and Jessica Ball, the Director. Let me bring up your slides for you. Here we go. Sorry about that. Brianna, you are up. Jessica, you are up. My apologies.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Ball. I'm the director of the Delaware Division of the Arts. We are a branch of the Delaware Department of State. We're committed to supporting the arts and cultivating creativity to enhance quality of life here in Delaware. Next. Brianna is heading up the pilot program of our creative veterans. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about how it all started. So as I said, we're in the Department of State, and the Department of State in Delaware is a very diverse department in state government. We have the arts, we have libraries, we have corporations. We also have a veterans home and Office of Veterans Services in the Department of State. So my colleague, the director of the Office of Veterans Services, came up to me and we were chatting, and she happened to mention that they were really having trouble engaging Delaware veterans and connecting them to all of the state services that are available to them, that they're eligible for. And she also mentioned, wanting to have opportunities to secure more national funding to support veterans in Delaware. At the same time, I was having conversations with an organization called Mariposa Arts. They had been piloting a small program at a local art museum that was geared towards cancer survivors and their families, and then had sort of branched into working with veterans and their families as well with arts programming. And they were looking for a way to expand some infrastructure, some help expanding their programs. So we at the Division of the Arts thought, hey, this seems like a good time to bring some folks together and work on a pilot. We thought, one way to engage veterans outside of the box, not as government agents, not through an email, is through the arts and arts programming. So we wanted to bring those benefits of participating in the arts to Delaware veterans. And we also thought if the three of us worked together, we could maybe build a successful pilot that would make us eligible for some national funding that we could bring to the state and to the state's veterans. So it really just kicked off with some conversations and assessing some needs in the community and thinking through ways that we could work together. So I'm going to pass it over to Bree, who has designed this pilot and is administering it right now.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Eric, for moving on. Hello, everyone. My name is Brianna Henry. As Eric mentioned, I'm the Community Engagement Program Officer at the Delaware Division of the Arts. So I want to go into the program overview, but also keep in mind that, again, this is a pilot program. Our first class began this year in January, marking the launch of our winter session, and we're currently in the midst of those classes, and we're excited to begin our spring classes in April. So Creative Veterans is a free, non-clinical 8-week art course designed for veterans. The classes are hosted at art organizations throughout Delaware with one program in each of our 3 counties. The program provides a welcoming space for creative expression and community building. The selected teaching artists have undergone trauma-informed training to ensure a supportive environment. The course introduces a range of artistic techniques and mediums, including clay, drawing, jelly plate printing, mixed media collage, and creative writing, with more to come. We stress to our participants that no prior experience is required as teaching artists guide them through each step of the creative process. At the end of the course, participants will have the opportunity to showcase their work in an exhibition, culminating in a meaningful event where they can share their creations with family, friends, and the broader community. So more information, the classes are limited to 12 participants, allowing for a deeper connection and to foster a close-knit community where individuals can actively engage, share their experiences, and receive personalized attention from the instructor. Bringing this program to life has involved extensive planning, collaboration, and refinement. In partnership with Mariposa Arts, we've worked diligently to secure host sites and teaching artists, ensuring all instructors receive the trauma-informed training. The Office of Veteran Services has provided valuable feedback and guidance on working with veterans and structuring the program as well. And this process has required numerous adjustments and reevaluations, and we're continuing to refine our approach since this is a pilot as well, so we can best serve our veterans. Thank you, Eric. Next. So most of them know that with a pilot program, there's our triumphs and trials. So I want to get into both. So with some triumphs, as we launched this off, we had a capped out registration for classes in 2 counties. So it showed a strong interest and engagement in the program. The feedback from veterans has been overwhelmingly positive. I myself have been able to go to a few classes to actually be engaged and see how they're experiencing this program. And many have shared that the program offers them a fulfilling activity and a chance to connect with fellow veterans. They appreciate having a supportive space to share experiences, learn new skills, or refine existing ones, all while engaging in meaningful conversations. Additionally, organizations have reached out and expressed interest in becoming future host sites. So several have offered their space and support to host these classes, which demonstrates the growing impact and reach of the program in Delaware. Moving on to trials, and this is where sorry. And this is where, most of my work comes in trying to figure out what's next for the program and how I can, adjust the pilot. So one of our main challenges has been reaching veterans in our rural county. We extended that registration period in an effort to boost this participation, but there was still no significant push in enrollment. So given that the class in Delaware, it was located on our coast, which is Rehoboth, and we believe that may be part of the issue, we've moved it for the spring session to another part of rural Delaware where it might be more accessible and where we believe more veterans are in that area. Another is we recognize that building trust with our veteran community is a gradual process. We've received comments, questions, and, some skepticism from those who are uncertain about participating in the program, as we expected. And so as we build this new relationship, we recognize that earning their trust and maintaining their engagement in the program will take time, and we're being very careful about every move we make with this program. And as I stated previously, we're limited to operating to 3 host sites per session. Delaware is so big, but we have our 3 counties and we have 1 in each. Due to the high demand, we have veterans requesting to be placed on a waiting list since we only have 12 participants. So to me, there's been this push and pull dynamic while we want to expand, but we want to accommodate, the mindfulness of the capacity and limitations. We want it to be an intimate space. So that goes into, eventually having to create more sites and host sites so more veterans can participate. And to continue to evaluate the program's effectiveness and impact, we're conducting pre- and post surveys, collecting testimonials, and interviewing participants and others involved in the program. Next, please, Eric. Okay, look into the future, which I'm very excited about. We're looking to host the classes at Veterans of Foreign Wars posts and American Legions, as these are spaces where veterans feel more comfortable and familiar. By bringing the program into these settings, we hope to make participation even more accessible and inviting, and hopefully it creates more relationships in our veteran community. We think it would also be great to extend the classes to veterans who are unable to attend our current locations. So in Delaware, we have our Delaware Center for Homeless Veterans, and we have other veteran housing facilities where we think providing these opportunities directly where they live would ensure that more individuals can benefit from the program. We have been establishing a relationship with our Delaware Vet Center, which can provide additional resources for our classes. These resources can simply be placed on tables in our classes and allowing the veterans to take what interests them without any pressure. This way, they become more aware of the support and services available to them, even if they haven't previously known about them. So that's something we're working on as well. Building strong partnerships is important to expanding the program's impact and creating more opportunities for veterans. I recently connected with an outreach coordinator from an organization that works closely with veterans, more on, the health side, and they said they're always seeking meaningful activities for their outpatients. And so we're trying to work on a relationship to develop some kind of partnership to be able to give to both of our veterans. And as we continue to grow and eventually pursue national funding, the long-term goal is to transform Creative Veterans into a grant program. So this would enable more organizations to adopt and implement the program, ultimately expanding access and providing more veterans with a chance to participate in this creative and supported classes. Yeah, I didn't go too fast. I think you're muted, Eric. Sorry.
Thank you, Brianna. Thank you, Jessica. I really
Welcome.
appreciate that. As a Delaware native, I appreciate all the hard work you're doing in my home state.
Yay, thank you.
Um, and next, we're going to hear from Kevin Legdner, the program coordinator for New Mexico Arts in the Military Initiative. Kevin, let me go ahead and bring up your presentation. Here we go.
Thank you for having me. I suspect that, like many of you, I have many hats, and one of the hats that I wear is New Mexico Arts in the Military. And we're going to go next. I put a lot of slides on here for reference sake. After this presentation, I'm not going to say all these words, but I do like to kind of paint the picture for conversations here about what is the military connected audience footprint in New Mexico. So we have 141,000 plus probably veterans in all 33 counties. Active duty, we have 5 military bases with 22,000 stationed at those bases. Some other interesting numbers for me is there are 7,900, almost 8,000 spouses and 13,000 children of active duty service members living in New Mexico. And that's thanks to Military One Source for that information. And then our own economic development department here has put a financial impact. It's 52,000 jobs. It's $2.8 billion in our labor income. And however they use the calculations, it's 14 billion in industrial output. Next. So just to kind of give a snapshot of that. Our history, it started in 2015, and I was today years old when I realized that this is our 10th anniversary of this program. So happy birthday to us and probably to all of you as well. We started out with 5 roundtables or convenings, and they included health professionals, arts, military and veteran professionals, as well as military and veteran families and service members themselves. And in these roundtables, they presented and kind of put out the idea, and in our we're using arts in the military, and it's such a great combination of words, and the ideas and the images that come from putting those 2 words together in the same sentence just really evokes a lot. So I'm glad we kind of held on to that. But they just kind of talked about, the health impacts, and took a lot of feedback, and really was just information gathering and sort of focus group kind of efforts. They've, in the past, my predecessor attempted to build some databases and some information directories, because as you might know, in a lot of places, there's a lot of information out there, but it's not necessarily connected. And so there was a real effort to make some of those connections. Some of it is duplicative. Others, there was some hard work that was being done with that. And then what kind of followed was sort of some piecemeal funding of different exhibits that were military focused, some trainings. We had a poster series that featured military connected artists. And then the pandemic hit. And like everything else, everything kind of stopped here for us. And in the midst of the pandemic, we did commission a study of basically what happened at all these convenings. And one of the things, two things kind of came out of it. One was the issues for people in Albuquerque and the issues in the town that I was living in at the time, in Silver City of 10,000 people. The issues were the same, and there wasn't a lot of difference between what veterans and military connected people were interested in and the issues that came up at these roundtables. The second part of it was interesting too. There was a big recommendation for a full-time staff person. Next. So I included some pictures because, you know, words are words, but this is a project that we funded in Taos, stone carving class, and it's a great picture. And I'll talk a little bit more about the need for great pictures as we move on. But next. Another great image. Next. So I was hired in the middle of the pandemic or towards the end of the pandemic, and we kind of had to refashion what we were doing. We were not going to get a full-time staff person. I do poetry out loud. I have 70 organizations in my portfolio, and I do arts education. So this is, again, one of the hats. But we kind of went with this idea of empowering, equipping, and energizing. And so for our program goals, we kind of refashioned that. And that's really just to create more opportunities for veterans and military audiences to connect with the arts. And I will say, I saw some colleagues from Oklahoma. We borrowed a lot of our language and our ideas from other state organizations. So thank you all for helping us, you know, move the message forward. The second goal that we had was building the capacity of not just the arts organizations, but any organization, nonprofit organization in New Mexico to offer arts programs. Next. So the core initiatives that we kind of came up with was an Arts in the Military mini grant program, which I'll talk more in depth. You've heard a little bit about the Blue Star Museums program. And from our aspect, I'm a part of the Department of Cultural Affairs. We have 15 divisions. There are 7 historic sites and 7 museums that are part of this. And in some capacity building programs that we actually worked with Brian at ArtsWA and some other people, we kind of found out that not every one of our museums and historic sites was participating in the Blue Star Museum. And I'll talk about that in the challenges, but I got to work with Tony a little bit, and that became my job, is to either chase, nag, motivate, or just outright do the registration forms for these museums and historic sites so they could all be listed in the Blue Star Museum program. And just a little bit of data on that, we have about 5,000 for the last 2 or 3 years that are using the Blue Star Museum program throughout those sites across the state. So we consider that a pretty good success. The other initiative is just doing technical assistance and capacity building in whatever ways that we can. And we started the capacity building internally because we have so many cultural organizations. What can we do internally to serve military connected audiences? And that had some successes and some challenges as well. Next. Another image, the famous Ghost Ranch, where Georgia O'Keeffe did a lot of work, had some great veterans programming there. Next. Maybe one of our bigger successes is this anthology that featured over 100 military connected writers. They put together a book. This book has won awards. It's on Amazon, and it's a somewhat of a small writing group in Albuquerque, but they have really had a lot of success. They had a couple readings, and they are on now working on their second anthology. So that was a great success. Go ahead. Next. So about the mini grant program, real quickly, our applicants, this is a $2,500 grant. It's not a lot of money. We're not requiring a match. And because of our other funding that we give from the NEA and others, that is proportional. This is the full grant. So you ask for 2,500, and if you get approved, you'll get 2,500. Next. So some of our selection criteria, we really tried to make this a low barrier entry to programming. The application literally has 8 questions, 9 questions to it. And again, it's not a lot of money. We really kind of gave the direction of, we're not asking for you to build something new. We're asking you to do what you do well and find ways to incorporate military connected audiences. So that's sort of a different focus. And I'll say the other focus that's a little bit different is we really kind of looked at the arts and culture, not as much as a health perspective, but just a broader view, I guess. And that we all know that participating in arts and culture is therapeutic. We didn't have the resources and maybe not the talent pool to go real deep into that. So we went wide as a state arts organization. You know, we're always looking at serving the whole state. Next. Another great image up in Farmington, Navajo country. They have a radio program, and they did some workshops and presentations. Next. Another program didn't serve necessarily a lot of veterans, but it was a deep program, and that's a storytelling lab at our local photography, I won't say local, it's our state's well-received photography organization called Center. So they did some mentorships with veterans and professional photographers. Next. So some of the challenges, and you know, I'm sure this is nothing new to anybody here. Our procurement process, especially when I came on during the pandemic, people were coming and going. We would get instructions on how to do procurement in the morning, and it would change in the afternoon. So these are some of the real challenges, and using the $2,500 was, you know, under the radar, so to speak, and under the bureaucratic strings that kind of hold things back. And so that was positive to do that. Our total budget is $40,000 for our grant making and technical assistance and capacity. So it's not real big. Another challenge is the internal capacity building among DCA divisions and also with other departments. We have Veterans Affairs downstairs in our building. And one of the challenges that has come up with that is staff turnover, which I'm sure everybody kind of deals with. It's other than myself, there's nobody who has arts and military in their job description. And that's not even in my job description, but it's on my business card. So that's what I do. But also the capacity, because this is something extra that an initiative that we took on. Everybody has a full plate, and we're asking them to do some more things. And then I think the long-term sustainable support of this program will be a challenge as we move forward. Next. So those are our internal challenges. Just if you know New Mexico, we're about 141,000 square miles. It's twice the size of Washington State. So there's a real geography issue for people who live here. There's only about 2 million people, but we're spread out. And one of the things that we learned at the roundtables is, you know, most veterans, their number one care, they came to these meetings because they wanted to know how to get their benefits and health care. And the art was pretty low on the list, you know. And so kind of taking that in stride and you know, and kind of it's a reality that we're facing and some other needs that are maybe more important or more immediate to veterans is another challenge. While our mini grants were low entry, small organizations still had challenges bringing their ideas forward in this format. We stress meaningful engagement, and you know, we had some issues where theaters wanted a grant so that we could give a 5% discount to veterans. And, we had to kind of talk to them like, that's not necessarily meaningful engagement. Thank you for asking, but let's go a little bit deeper with what you're trying to do. And then the last one is with our active duty military bases. I mean, when you say they're a fortress, they really are a fortress. It's hard to get information in and it's hard to get information out. And so there's literally a wall there, and it's taking some time to build relationships. And sometimes when you build the relationship with one person, they're gone, and then you got to kind of start over. So flow of information is definitely a challenge. And the quote, if you build it, they might not come. We've had some organizations that we've given awards to, and they weren't able to make the connection with veterans. And so it's a reimbursement, so they didn't have to return money, but they weren't able to do their program because just because you can do a program, you also have to do the outreach part of it. And that's an important side of it. Next. Other great pictures of veterans in a metalwork class in Taos. Next. So this is near one of our Air Force bases, and they do some writing and some visual arts, and they actually have a whole month of programming at this arts center for veterans. So that's great. Next. Some of our successes, and I don't mean to be flip about it, but it's a flagship cause. I mean, it's something that attracts attention and attracts hearts and minds. It's great for public relations in terms of its government doing great things, and the engagement level. People who have connections to military, whether they've been in it themselves, and I'm sure you'll hear more about this, or their family members, it's a deep engagement and it's a lifelong engagement. So that's a very positive success. Our mini grants, instead of doing top down, we've kind of looked at it like local solutions might be more innovative than the ideas that we have here in Santa Fe. And what works in a town of 10,000 might not work in Albuquerque. So it was important to kind of spread and have these seed grants out there for us. The partners that we've had for this have been great. Not quite, but I see that's a sign to stop talking. But our partners have been great and very different organizations. We have a Paws and Stripes that matches shelter dogs and veterans for training, and now they're going to get a grant for art therapy classes as a part of that. And then also extending relationships with grantees. And then my last success, which I think is something for everybody to keep in mind, is it's right size for our capacity. Because I'm wearing all these hats, the program is something that I can manage and make it happen. So thank you for your time, and that's all.
Thank you very much, Kevin. And I'm sorry about the inadvertent twitch there. My mouse has apparently got a hair trigger. So I am now going to bring up our anchor presentation from ArtSWA, Washington Commission on the Arts. And we have Karin Hanan kicking us off. And following Karin, we will have Brian Bales, who's the Wellness Arts and Military Program Manager. Karin?
Yeah, thank you, Eric. And hi, everybody. I'm Karin Hannon from ArtSWA, as Eric just said. Quick sort of history behind what is today's WAM program. We started with a very small Creative Forces grant back in, I think, 2016, 17, right around there. And we took that money. We had no capacity really to do anything, but just really wanted to do it, felt this was really important work. So we put together a summit where we invited all those who were already working with military connected populations, and then those who were interested in working in that sphere, brought them all together to sort of really see what was going on and to showcase some of the work and so on. And then we did a summit 2 where we sort of delved more into capacity building. And then all this led to around 2020, making a request of the state budget. And we were very honored and gratified to receive $2 million per biennium for the program, which was sort of unprecedented. That's a huge amount of money in the arts world, as we all know. So that then allowed us to hire Brian Bales, who you're about to meet, as the program manager, who in short order, we added 2 more people to the team. And we also have had some vet corps, like AmeriCorps kind of participation as well. But the program is really going extremely well. Even though $2 million is a lot of money, we know we could do a lot more with a little more. We do live in a very big state. We're actually, I think, 84% smaller than you down there in New Mexico, but we're 34 times bigger than Delaware. But nevertheless, we could really use a little bit more money to do more. But the program is amazing, and I'm going to love to introduce Brian Bales, program manager. And Brian, take it from here.
All right, thank you. So hello, great to meet everybody. I'm gonna, in the interest of, I want to make sure that there's time for questions. I'm gonna fly through, but if anyone wants to connect with me at a later point and have a conversation, happy to do that as well. So a little bit about me. So I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I served from 2005 to 2010, and cut my teeth working with veterans in 2012 as part of the Vet Corps program, and then I worked with Washington State Department of Veteran Affairs for a really long time before I was able to come over here. But as we move into working and doing this, there we go. Now we're working. Had to make sure my mouse was working. So Karin already kind of gave like a quick program overview, starting through Creative Forces and then really getting state funding to help us build out our program. And I really like kind of what I tell people. We're essentially like the Creative Forces of Washington. Where we don't necessarily do our own programming, but we are a grant organization, and we grant organizations and individuals and have some great partnerships that I'm going to tell you all about as we go through. So this is my staff, Dania and Gabriella. They are in this call as well. They're the ones who really, make the wheels turn and make everything go. And so our big programs that we do is our grant program. So we have 3 main grants. So our first one, and I'm going to go through each of them individually. So we have our WDVA, Washington State Department of Veteran Affairs Veteran Homes Grant. And we have our General Operating Support Grant. And then we have really that's our flagship grant that I'm not aware of other organizations doing this, but this is our self-directed art practice grant. It's really unique, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about these. So our first one is our Veteran Homes Grant. So in Washington, there are 4 veteran nursing homes across the state of Washington, and so as well as a transitional housing program for houseless veterans who live who are trying to get back on their feet, and 2 of these veteran homes house that program on their campuses. And so what we do is we provide funding for their residents to do to participate in art programming, to just have better life enrichment for those individuals and their families. And so this includes a lot of different things like bringing musicians into the homes, bringing art projects into the home, but also providing these residents the opportunities to go out and like see live shows and things like that. So it's a really neat program. And I found out recently that it's if anyone's familiar with the Pillars Awards, and that's something that the National Association of State Directors of Veteran Affairs. So that's an award that they put on. And so this grant was nominated and is up for a Pillars Award there. So we should find out here at the end of March on whether it was a winner or not. So that's pretty neat. Our other grant that we do, we have our General Operating Support Grant. And so this one we offer up to $35,000 per organization. But as you can see here, currently this year we have 35 organizations you know, with a total budget that we have, each organization got around $10,000. And so this is something that I'm going to kind of talk about a little bit later as you know, looking ahead and challenges. I know it's a great challenge to have, right? Like we have 35 awesome organizations that we work with, but you know, when we're offering 30 up to 35,000 and leaving a lot on the floor, you know, some of these smaller organizations definitely can take a hit from that. And then another great thing that we have is we have our WAM cohort. So WAM, Wellness Starts in the Military, that's our program. If you're a military organization, you have cool acronyms. I think WAM is a great one. So our cohort is all of these organizations who get funding with us. We like to get together once or twice a year and like talk about best practices, what's working, what's not, how we can work together, share events, collaborate. So it's a really unique group from across the state. And you know, that has been definitely a challenge for us, is trying to work with organizations and individuals all across Washington. So because so much happens, for those of you who aren't familiar with Washington, you have the West Side, which is Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, on the I-5 corridor. And then you have Eastern Washington, which is just a vast rural area with Spokane as the big city in the area. So trying to work with all of the rural organizations has been a challenge. We've done a really great job of it, and I'm gonna talk about kind of how we've made that happen as I go through. But and then you know, coming up on our last grant. So this is my favorite grant of that we do. It's really unique, and to me, it was really important that we're able to make this happen. So this is our self-directed art practice grant, and it's called SAP because, you know, acronyms. But what we do for this is we provide up to $3,000 per individual. And so this individual can be military connected. So they're either active duty, guard, reserve, veteran, veteran spouse, or a child of a vet who's over 18. So we really try and encompass the entire military connected population for this grant. And it's just to complete an art project of whatever it is that they want to do, whether you're a professional, whether you're trying something out for the first time. It's a really unique opportunity to be able to make and create something. And so we've had this year we had 85 applications, and we were able to grant 48 of them, which is pretty fantastic. And the projects range from, you know, fine arts of painting down to, we've got writers, photographers, filmmakers, woodworkers, blacksmiths. I'm pretty sure my favorite one, and the one I'm looking forward to is seeing the most, is we got someone who's experimenting with barbecue, right? I hope that they do a showing, because I'll be first in line for that one. But just all of these different unique pieces, you know, coming together to be able to create this. And one of the challenges, or one of the opportunities that we were able to find past our first iteration of this, was we brought in a teaching artist. Her name is Luce Thompson. She's a Marine vet out of Oceanside, California, but she had done work with another organization that we work with and support, Path with Art. And she teaches a course called Design Thinking for Creative Expression. And in this course, all of our grantees, so it's a requirement for this grant, is that our individual grantees, they become their own cohort model, their own cohort. They get together, and Luce takes them through an 8-week course of managing a budget, implementing prototypes, from imagination all the way to creation at the end. And then she also works with them on artist statement and bio and what the piece is, and is it be able to work with those individuals to really see the project from start to finish. And it's been a really cool process to see. So one of our big ways, so one of our challenges that we've had in the past is being able to provide services outside of the I-5 corridor. And I've heard, Kevin, New Mexico talk about it. I've heard other folks talk about serving those rural communities. And this conference was really a huge help for us. So we partnered with the Washington State Department of Veteran Affairs and then our Employment Security Department to put on to host the Serving Those Who Serve conference. So this conference, WDVA has been doing it for, I think this was the 7th or 8th annual year that this conference has been put on. And I've, because of my work with DVA previously, I've been a part of this conference from the beginning. And so the opportunity to partner, we took advantage of that right away. Typically, this conference is held on the east side of the state, with this last year's held in Spokane, Washington. And over 400 attendees attend this conference from all across the state, and they are veterans, veteran service providers, family members, all people who either are or support veterans within their community. And we strategically made it to where our grants launched, our organizational grant and our individual grant, our SAP grant, launched on day one of the conference. And so our table was busy the entire weekend of people coming up to us, asking us questions about our grants. And, through this, we really got a wide variety of organizations and individuals from across the state, not only just in the Seattle area, but in rural communities in central and eastern Washington as well. And it was a huge help. And one of the cool things that we did was, if I go back here to our SAP grant page, so this picture of one of our grantees, Brandy. So we had an art gallery at the Serving Those Who Serve conference for I think we had 9 different SAP grantees show up to the conference and display the artwork that they created through our funding. And all of the attendees went through the art gallery and got to chat with the artists and talk about the program and how it worked for them. And so that was a great piece of outreach and marketing. And we're hoping to do that again this year. And then kind of as we look ahead, I look at challenges and opportunities, right? So challenges, Kevin, one of the things that you had said was about, grantees coming in and saying, we want funding for our project and we'll let, families in for free, or they'll get the discount. That's something that we deal with as well. And, one of the things that we make sure of for our grantees, and that's in the general operating support application, is like, you have to provide ongoing support to veterans. It's not a one-time. This isn't an event grant. This is programming. So if you're not providing continuing programming, you won't be eligible for our grant. And one of the challenges that we have this year was that we had so many grantees for that grant. Like we have, and we weren't able to provide the robust funding that we really wanted to provide. And so something that stuck out with me after one of my Dania, one of our team members for WAM, had said after a meeting that she was at, was something about supporting the nonprofit industrial complex. So essentially, like, are we finding these small organizations where our funding is meaningful, or are we just supporting these mega nonprofits whose, us giving them $35,000, is that really going to make any sort of dent in what they do? And so we are looking ahead. Later on this year, we're going to host a listening session for our organizational grantees and kind of talk about that. And we really want to hear from them about what's working, what's not working. How can we make this grant more effective and more meaningful for you? Because we can have the best of intentions, and the best ideas, but we have to have the buy-in of the community that we serve they have to be at the table and part of that decision-making process as well. And so that's one of the things that we are looking ahead and looking forward to doing. Another opportunity that we're doing as well is we have Gabriella, our administrative assistant. She puts together an amazing newsletter every quarter that shows all of the different past and upcoming activities that all of our grantees have done, and as well as she hosts our WAM podcast, where she interviews grantees both on the organization level and at the individual level to talk to them about their experiences. And so that's out there for folks to take a look at and listen to, and really see the work that's being done in the state of Washington. So I know I might have went a little over, but that is our program in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, Brian, and thank you to all of the presenters today. We are butt up against our end time, but I want to ask one quick question that I hope will be relatively easy for you. If the pie in the sky dreaming, where would you like this program to go in the near future, say next 2 or 3 years, if there were no limitations? What would you like to accomplish? What would you like that next step to be? Brian, you're already unmuted, so I'm going right to you.
Sure. I mean, in a perfect world, right? With if budget wasn't an issue, instead of it being a competitive grant process for these organizations, I would love to just have partnerships and host statewide convenings and conventions for not only organizations to come and show what they do, but also for the individual veteran artists and creators to come and set up shop and sell their work and do workshops from all across the state in every community.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. I'm just going to go in reverse order and go right to Kevin.
Sure. I think similar to what Brian said, we're hoping to host a conference after our third round, maybe with another round of funding, to share learnings, because there's so much innovation out there with these organizations, and the needs can be so different that the hive mind is better than my mind for sure. And so getting those people together and coming up with solutions to reach not only veterans, not only active duty, but their families as well, and caregivers, because it's a much bigger community that we're hoping to impact. And more money obviously would be great to do that, but it's a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Brianna, Jessica, where would you like to go in the next couple of years?
I'll take the reins. Jess, do you want to take the reins?
No, it's your program, Bree.
Yes, it is my baby, but in the next couple of years, of like Kevin said, with funding, hopefully national funding, again, I would think this would be perfect to be a grant program. And Jody put in there, we have a creative aging program that we would hope follows the same model creative veterans would. And I think it's more of the fact that, again, we're limited to 12 participants in only one class in each county. So in my mind, I'm hoping for many host sites in different at different organizations in our counties, and to be able to just expand on it more, because we're small right now. And I don't know, Eric, if you wanted us to answer Jody's question really quick that she asked.
Yes, if you have time, that would be great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Jess, I know you know more about the creative aging model and what took place, but Jody, for our TA trainings for the veterans, we hired the Bartol Foundation, and they have an instructor there. Their name is Candy Gonzalez, and they helped our TAs go through trauma-informed training with a twist with veterans. So it was 4 weeks, 2 hours once a week. And if you have my information, Jody, I'd be able to exchange that for you for the future.
I put the link to the Bartol Foundation in the chat. They have as Bree said, they have a special training for teaching artists for trauma-informed practice. And it's virtual. You can do virtual, so that you don't have to be in the Philadelphia area.
Great. Thank you, Jessica, Brianna, Kevin, Brian, Karen, even though she's had to log off already. Mary, Tony, I thank you all for presenting for us today. I really appreciate it.